Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Vision. I'm John DeLeo, a Chicagoland-based customs broker, columnist, and actor, and today I'm here honored to be with you for Shalom World Television, interviewing Krish Dhanam and Victor Abraham. We'll begin with Krish Dhanam, a motivational speaker and one of the forces behind the making of this wonderful film.
Leprosy is the veil behind which Staines operates. The tool he uses.
You bring me evidence of illegal conversion, I'll give you a permanent position.
One day I'll find the proof of him converting the tribals.
Who is he?
Staines. The law states that no person shall convert or attempt to convert any person from one religious faith to another. And yet not one missionary has been charged.
We can't make any mistakes. They have this law for a reason.
I know. We must pray.
Farmers are leaving their lands and families. But do the missionaries ever get the blame for this?
Actually, this sends out a good message. Teaches the Christians a lesson.
What does expendability mean?
Well, that's when you do something and some people think it doesn't matter.
Write about the work, not about me.
Leave my children out of it.
Tell me!
You can still write the truth.
What is the truth?
God created us from the dust of the earth, dust for dust.
Seek, and ye shall find.
You were talking about the truth, weren't you?
So fear, unfounded fear, prevents the people from doing good?
And what you do is good? What did he give you to convert?
You want the truth? Truth always seems to cost something.
Krish, you're living the American dream on a grand scale. Born in coastal India, you grew up watching American-made movies and dreaming of achieving the level of success shown by the characters in those films. In 1986, you migrated to the United States, arriving in New York City with just $9 in your pocket. And here you are now, a sought-after international motivational speaker, as well as a prolific writer. So, we begin. How did you first learn about Graham Staines and his family?
Thanks a lot for having me on the program, and thanks for those kind words you said about the American dream and all of that. The story of Graham Staines took place a state north of mine, a state of Orissa in India. I grew up in the state of Andhra Pradesh, one state south. I'd heard of the story, but I was already living in the West by then. What captivated me with the story was the theme of forgiveness that Gladys brought to the story. You know, she survived with her daughter after the atrocity had taken place. Her message to the world of forgiveness captivated the Indian diaspora across the globe. The Indian government themselves went and gave her one of India's highest civilian honors. So that's what drew me through it, because like Mother Teresa, she seemed to have transcended any prevailing tension.
What kind of impact did this tale have on you and on your loved ones here and in India upon learning of his story?
My mother and father subscribed to a different worldview. I made the transition after I came to the West to understand the Judeo-Christian identity. But it was fascinating. When we were on the set in India, my late mother actually came on the set, and she got to see me act in the movie as a person that was antithetical to what I really am. I played a different character. The effect it had on my father was more profound, because after my mother passed, my father actually got to see the movie at a preliminary screening we did. And my father said, I did not know about the good he did. The tensions that came up at that point were primarily rooted in ideology, and that's all my father learned from the newspaper. So my immediate family, I think, after they got a glimpse of what we were involved in, began to change their tone about what had happened and began to understand a little more of why that man came to serve. So that was revealing.
What psychological and emotional impact did you experience from portraying a primary villain in this piece?
there is a little bad in all of us, I guess. And when we try to only look at the world through the rose lenses that we wear every day, we live out differently. I'm not an actor by profession. I'm just a speaker and a trainer, and I've spent my time in front of audiences all over the world. I really didn't think about playing a bad character as much as I thought about trying to just follow the script. The character itself is not bad. The character is trying to survive his own identity in a culture that demands something from him. Well, that was how I grew up. So there was really no transition. The person in the movie is playing what was expected of him. So for a moment in time, I just transported myself back. Maybe 30 years in the West never happened, and I was just another kid in India growing up and living out my identity. So that was easy.
How did you prepare for this role?
I think the initial time we did it, my accent that had become a little more anglicized, the very way I was saying Graham instead of Graham, and all of those things were caught on by the folks locally. And they had me go back to India and actually dub my own voice when playing the scene and get a little more gruff. And so what you see on the screen is not my real voice. It is a made-up voice based on what they required of me. So that was a different kind of preparation. Watching yourself on screen and morphing a character with a different voice.
You're a native of India, but you are an American citizen with a great heart for your adopted home here in the United States. Would you describe this experience of delving into and presenting such a delicate topic from your beloved homeland to the world?
What you have noticed since the movies like Slumdog Millionaire and all came and actually changed the focus on India, we had many movies made from Western perspective about India. In most cases, they showcased a poverty or they showcased a destruction of civilized society in some way that would evoke sympathy. But that is not the land I grew up. This movie portrays India with its wide open vistas. The villages come to life. The cinematography talks about the landscape, the beauty. And so that was the exciting part of watching that transformation take place. The movie itself will showcase the love I have for my land because it will bring the people alive. We use real lepers on the scene, on the sets. Some of the things that happen in the background of the movie are so spectacular that the audience would not even believe, and we hope after the movie some of those stories will reveal themselves. But the authenticity with which we were able to show the land I was born in is what thrills me to no end, because for the very first time in the West, they will see my country come alive in a way that how normal people live and how they survive and how they thrive.
Understood. Thank you. Did you have any reservations, any personal discomfort in taking on the subject matter of the least of these?
Not really, from the standpoint that I was instrumental in trying to put together the people who had originally written the script along with the people who produced it. I was just a liaison to the project, and the executive producer has just been a dear friend of mine for 20 years. We've crisscrossed the globe sharing the good news. There were no reservations from the simple standpoint that our goal was never to create something that would be preachy. We wanted to create an objective look into a subjective reality. Here was a man who had come to India and labored for 35 years before he met his end. His children were born in that land. The movie showcases that. His bride, who survived that tragedy, stayed back in India. So here was a life just lived out, and so there were no reservations about that. What I think fascinated me most, and I think what will evoke the greatest response from the people who watch this, is they will see that it was just another group of people going to serve. And if that heart of forgiveness is what comes out at the end, we'll have achieved our purpose. People always think that there are reservations because you're dealing with a sensitive subject. But what isn't sensitive in this world? You and I live in the West, and just about everything has been hijacked in the name of sensitivity. We have changed the definition of the name of... So I remember one person saying, my right to speak should not ever be dwarfed by your right not to be offended. So life will go on. People will always pick their battles. And I think this is a middle-of-the-road look, an objective look, We don't decide who the winners and losers are. We let the people decide.
Did you have any advice from Indian family or friends, anyone who may have cautioned you out of tackling such a sensitive theme?
No, because again, I think that's more publicity driven, that's more society driven. In reality, people get along. In reality, most of what happens on the fringe, Ravi Zacharias, a noted apologist, once said, never judge a philosophy by its abuse. And most of what makes sensational news in the world is the fringe. And the fringe exists in just about every strata of the world. The mainstream people who wake up every day, go to earn a living, and try to provide for their family have civility at the core. So if you tackle something with civility and simplicity, my mentor Zig Ziglar used to say, you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want, but treat that as a philosophy, not as a tactic. And that's how we approached it. We wanted people to benefit on the set in terms of the money they made. We had no prejudged conditions as to how they would interact with us. We were just going to love them. Ultimately, we were showing a story of love, a man who loved that nation and paid for it.
Graham Staines was a man of deep conviction, of his love of the least, of his deep personal faith. How might his death actually perhaps facilitate his goals of spreading his love of the fellow man and of Christ?
That is probably one of the pivotal questions that we hope is answered, and I hope I do justice in the way you asked it. The sacrifice that, in fact, when you pick up a missional calling, the door is always closed from the outside. It's not from the inside. And I borrowed this from Ravi Zacharias. He said, when you begin that calling, the door is closed from the outside, which means people are already going to judge your motives. And that's okay. But I'm a layperson. I'm not a theologian by any manner. So I always say the quantitative part of my theological arithmetic is you plus God equals enough. And 2/3 of the word God is go. So to that end, people will constantly have to do this. Having done that, we want his love as part of a forgiveness movement to be showcased, because when Gladys forgave the people, that was what captivated a nation. The death was no longer an instrument. It was part of what you do. Jim Elliot paid that price. Henry Martin paid that price. William Carey, E. Stanley Jones. These are all people who went to India. Now, they built hospitals, they built universities, they did a lot of good. So that having said, we wanted the story to pick up, not so that we would focus so much on the fact that he died, but the fact that the message of his death should be one of hope. And Gladys gave us that entry when she says, whoever did this, we will forgive them. So from that standpoint, we have created a movement. It's called iforgive.com, and that's our website. And we hope the stories of forgiveness will pour in from around the world. In fact, recently at a screening in Houston, a lady walked up to me and said this. She said, I did not know the story, I did not know the players, and I may be too young to even understand its implications. I've grown up in an era of short-term missions. I don't understand someone going for 35 years. But she said, when the movie finished, I realized I had to do something. I have been holding and harboring in my heart hate for somebody in my immediate family. If a mother can forgive someone who killed her husband and her 2 children and is left with a daughter, why can't I forgive someone for something as simple as something? And she, with tears in her eyes, held my hand, asked me to pray for her, and said, thank you for teaching me how to forgive. So the story of love and the story of Graham's character will not end with his death. It will manifest and glorify itself into a story of love that we hope will be worldwide.
The law states that no person shall convert any person from one religious faith to another.
Who is he?
And yet not one missionary has been charged.
Graham Staines, nice to properly meet you.
You bring me evidence of illegal conversion by Graham Staines. I'll give you a permanent position. This is your opportunity.
Leper! Whoa. He's a leper! Hey, calm down, mate. He's been healed 30 years.
Where's your affidavit for conversion?
Her mother is a Christian.
Well, her father is a Hindu.
Who's going to look after the home? Who's going to defend them?
You take this. You go all the way.
What if I become a Christian?
That would be a forced conversion.
We must pray.
We don't need you anymore. Why do you stay?
It's my calling.
We have to be strong, Banerjee. Teach Christians a lesson.
There's no evidence.
Find some.
You can still write the truth.
What is the truth?
We now turn to Victor Abraham, executive producer of The Least of These. Victor, thank you for joining us. You have wide visibility as a chief executive officer and president of an international travel, hospitality, and entertainment enterprise, and as a bank director in Texas. And you have been recognized by former U.S. President Bush for civic and business accomplishments. Victor, as executive producer of The Least of These, what was it that drew you to tackle a story about a Christian missionary? Would you tell us about its theme, its relevance in our present times, and why the story of Graham Staines, following its almost 20-year-ago occurrence?
Thank you, John. It is indeed a privilege to be here at Shalom talking about The Least of These. Well, as I look back, it's a journey that started close to 5 years ago when this script and this story fell into my lap and was introduced by my dear friend Krish Dhanam, who talked about a director, Anish Daniel. And when I got this, my immediate reaction was, wow. See, I grew up in a city called Mumbai where I was watching Hollywood and Bollywood movies. And I always had the desire to do a movie that would make a difference in people's lives. I had come across at least 2 or 3 scripts, but it never settled, especially after I started my entertainment division of SkyPass. And this script and this story came alive because my memory goes back to 20 years ago when this happened and the whole world was shocked by what happened, especially in our part of the world in India, because nobody could believe exactly what happened when a missionary that left the comforts of Australia to come into the tribal part of India to work among the destitute and to come to serve among them was itself commendable. And then after you hear what happened when he gave up his life and the life of 2 boys, that really shocked the whole world. So yes, that was a very compelling story. It was a story of love. It was a story of forgiveness because the next day, that itself took everybody by surprise by his wife Gladys forgiving the perpetrators. And that itself compelled me to make this movie.
Graham Staines turned from a more comfortable lifestyle in his native land to serve lepers in a remote tribal area for decades. You too have put aside comfort in delving into the distressing and controversial issues that surrounded the martyrdom of Staines and his sons. What drew you to learn more about these issues, the issues surrounding his true story?
Well, we are telling the story in a way that showcases the Great Commission and the Great Commandment in equal measure. Our hearts were full of hope for whatever God will do through this endeavor. The miracles along the way from concept to completion are testimony of His goodness, of what He did. Like I said, leaving the comforts of Australia, coming down and working among the destitute, working among the real needy, shows God's love. And that's what drew me to this story of what good He did and how He was an ambassador for our Lord.
What practical fruits has this experience borne in your daily life?
Definitely learn to be patient, learn to be giving, learn to be loving, and above all, to serve in wherever circumstances you are. Dr. Ravi Zacharias puts it this way: you cannot lighten any load until you feel the pressure in your own soul. And we always come across different circumstances in life, whether it is family, whether it is business. And what will you do to take that extra mile to be of service to others? And sometimes you have to do it unconditionally.
Did you get to meet with Graham's family at all while making the film?
I met with Gladys before the film in the city of Baripada. I had met her earlier when she was here in the U.S.
Was there anything that they would like to share? Anything that they wanted to make sure that you communicated? Perhaps forgiveness, their love for those who persecuted them?
Well, I think the family has shown that in their whole life, right from Graham to the 2 boys who were sacrificed. But Gladys itself portrayed that amazing quality of forgiveness. It's sometimes difficult to completely understand as a human being, because nowadays it's so difficult to just forgive each other, whether it's family, whether it is friends. And here it is. It's a powerful story of love and forgiveness that really overcame all the evil and the hatred in the world.
The death of Graham Staines and his sons was and remains controversial. What particular challenges did you face in making this movie? Perhaps in the casting of top-level actors and crew, the storyline, the location filming, promotion, even its launch and its worldwide release?
Yes, challenges were there, I have to admit that, John, because it was not easy, because the story itself is a sensitive story. It was a controversial subject, but I did not cut any corners. I was entrusted with this effort, and I did not compromise on anything, quality, quantity, to give the best to the world out there. Because Graham lived a life that was lived to the best, and it required us to glorify it to the best. And to that, I did not cut any corners in the production of this. Whether it's music, I mean, we have some of the well-known singers as a part of our music score. Michael W. Smith, Nicole C. Mullen, Toby Mac, and several others. The music score was done by the Hungarian orchestra. Challenges were there. Now is the challenge. I've come to a point where I really didn't get a good distributor to distribute this film across the nation. So I have independently taken that challenge myself to get the word out and be able to take this. I mean, that's why I encourage everyone to go watch it when it releases on the 31st of January. We have the Fathom release. There are some special segments on there by Dr. Ravi Zacharias, Krish, Dhanam, and Shari Rigby. And the first is going to launch to close to 500 theaters across the nation. And go, as soon as it comes out, go and watch it and see. And so we create enough buzz here so that we are able to take it to the other parts of the world. That is where I need all your support. I need all your help in getting the word out so that people will watch this. I mean, go watch it, because after you watch it, come and tell me how it is, and then tell the world all about it. So yes, challenges are there. We still have we have Australia signed up. We have South Africa signed up, and we're going to get it out to India, God willing, on the 1st of March. That is our plan. But as people watch it and are encouraged and are transformed by it, that is where I will have the joy in my heart when I see the results of all that.
Victor, what is your hope, your vision in presenting this film on a cultural, societal, even global level?
Well, a wise man once said, "Let the past beat you or teach you." And I think that's what this film is all about. Hoping and praying that this would teach something about love, hope, forgiveness, and above all, to serve. When you serve God, you serve mankind. And that should come naturally to you.
The movie is completed, and it is set for its premiere showing all over the United States. Anything else to add?
Like my friend Krish says, it's Love 101, and tell your friends about it, and it's going to transform you.
The missionaries have been operating out of India for hundreds of years now. They've undermined thousands of years of traditions, causing the people of India to fight with each other. But do the missionaries ever get the blame for this?
Graham Staines, nice to properly meet you.
This is your opportunity. Stop them from converting.
The law states that no person shall convert any person from one religious faith to another. And yet not one missionary has been charged. Not yet.
We We thank Victor Abraham and Krish Dhanam for joining us today on Beyond the Vision. And thank you for joining us here on Shalom World Television to learn about the powerful message of this inspirational film. We pray that the least of these inspires greater appreciation for the Lord's goodness, and that we respond to His calls to service, to vocations, and to forgiveness. Until next time, take care and God bless.
If you have good news, we expect you to want to share it. Salvation in Jesus Christ, the Son of God, who for love of us and for our salvation came down from heaven. Salvation in His name, and He is the only Savior, is what we are on earth for. Therefore, all those who spread the good news of salvation in Jesus Christ, we should encourage them. I can speak, but how many people can I reach alone? But the media, the television people, the radio, the newspapers, and all those who use the computer and its derivatives in various ways to spread the gospel. We must thank them. We must encourage them. We must work with them so that they can continue to spread the good news. There's so much news that is not so wonderful in the world, but there is also news that is wonderful on the gospel of Jesus Christ. We encourage them and beg God to bless them, especially the Shalom World TV. God bless you.